Good evening and salutations, my Days of Our Lives fans. We're gonna start off with Chanel for a minute because this girl for the last couple of days have been doing nothing but getting on my goddamn nerves. Okay. She is a spoiled, entitled trust fund baby. The way that she has been coming across between just how she's been dealing with this whole situation. Like, first of all, when Abe comes over, she literally sits there and says that, her mom is not there doing the family dirty. What are you talking about? As Abe explained, her mom was in an impossible situation. So if she would have sat back and did nothing and just, not ordered the cops to do their job, she probably wouldn't have wound up having a job. Okay. People would have been mad at her either side. Right. That's number one. Number two, girl, you grew up with damn near everything you can possibly want because your mother had to sit there and work her ass off after being in an abusive relationship. Right. And you just come across as so ungrateful. And then when her mom gets there, she wants to stand there and act like she don't even want to let her in the door. I was like, you do realize that she sold you this place for $1, right? And she's just, they don't show the argument on screen, which is probably good because I can only imagine the god awful things that she's sitting there saying to her mom. But even before Paulina gets there, she's talking about AJ, right? And she's all like, "Oh well, I don't want AJ to sit there and get back into his life." And I'm like, "That's up for Johnny to decide, not you." That's number one. And number two, she keeps doing this whole thing where it's like she's practically trying to make Johnny choose between her and her dad. And I'm like, if the roles were reversed, how would you feel? How would you feel if Johnny did that? And the problem is, this isn't the first time that she's been out of pocket with her mother, right? Remember when she got lost in the snow like a goddamn idiot and her mom had to sit there and save her? And then what did she do? She started sitting there coming at her mom mad hard, right? Because yeah, okay, she was radioactive or whatever. But girl, you could have died. Okay. She sat there and she got like a snowplow or whatever to sit there and come and find your ass. And she still was acting ungrateful. And now she's doing this shit all over again. And also, she was like, listen, that's not going to be good for Johnny. It's not going to be good for me. Girl, you knew exactly what kind of family you married into. Okay. You may not like it. So what, tough titty? You just have to sit there and deal with it. Brady and Kristen and Marlena. Let me just put it this way. Kristen can sit there and get under somebody's skin in the best of circumstances, right? So we all know what's going on with Marlena as far as her grief and everything. And, they're talking about Rachel and how to deal with Rachel and, Johnny and everything like that. And, Kristen's like, oh, well, Johnny did it. Johnny most likely did it or whatever. And, at this point, Marlena don't even want to sit there and try to hear that, So she pretty much just yells at her and she just walks out. She's like, listen, text me when you're done with her, right? And they're trying to find the best way to go about it. And they're also sitting there worried about EJ and what EJ may do. So I just love this picture. There's a point where Kristen gets home and she talks to EJ and she's like, listen, this was not planned. We try to keep Rachel from saying anything, but Marlena got it out of her. And it is what it is. EJ makes it very clear. You know what? My niece has a very overactive imagination. Let's try to use that. Pretty much, he wants her to lie. And he threatens her in the sense like, listen, if my son goes to jail, your loved one is not going to be safe. Now, I don't think that he's going to go after Rachel. I think that even he has limits, right? But Big Rachel, oh no, that's that's fair game at that point. Before she got there, he was sitting there having a strategy meeting with Johnny to sit there and try to figure out, the best defense to sit there and use, just how to go about it. Rachel finding out and everything like that. There's a point where EJ tells Johnny, listen, Chanel's to try and tear us apart. And Johnny's like, listen, just give us some time. She'll come around to it. At first, I was like, what do you mean by that? Like, I've been married for years, but then that's more about the reveal of what EJ wound up doing to Sammy and everything. But I'm like, bro, you know damn well Thomas not gonna sit there and hear that. You know that. And the minute that he gets to the house, he's not there talking to Chanel, catching up, and she tells him about the argument that she had with her mother and everything. And he talks about the strategy meeting he has going on with EJ. My issue, well, not really my issue, but like there's a point where she's like, just make sure that don't get too close to him. Don't sit there and forget about the bad stuff that, he's done to you. And I get that in a sense. But also, what did he sit there and say before? After he lost his grandfather, he's like, what, listen, I don't want to sit there and lose another person, right? So, I get that you don't like the guy. I get that he did a very horrible, horrible thing, and he's not really a good person, right? Like you can almost argue that he's damn near close to the devil to some extent. But like at the end of the day, you gotta sit there and respect your husband's decision, even if you don't like it. The same way you want him to sit there and respect your decision. So at first she comes across in this very bitchy way and she kind of snaps at him, but then she's like, I'm just not there trying to look out for you. Um, okay. The conversation between Paulina and Belle doesn't really, there's not really much except for the fact that Belle's back on the case because of EJ and his influence. So he's back on the case. She reassures Paulina, hey, listen, I'm gonna do my job regardless of death of my nephew or not. And Belle's and Paulina's like, listen, I appreciate that. I'm sorry I have to ask you and everything, but I don't want you to sit there and be corrupt because that's just how EJ works. And Belle's like, let's not get it. We're both in very impossible decisions, impossible positions. After she goes to her ungrateful daughter, she goes to Abe. Um, I guess she was supposed to be doing some sort of speech or whatever, and it's hard to concentrate because she got in pushback from her own goddamn daughter about doing her job. I just Belle pretty much tells Marlena that she's back on the case or whatever, prosecuting Johnny, you know, per the judge's request. Well, really per EJ's request, but you know. She also does sit there and say that, EJ's her boyfriend, but listen, if she does her job well, she don't gotta worry about that. Like she does not have to worry about that. And I saw the promo for the like summer whatever. And it's gonna be hella shocking. Now, this is kind of do this, even though I'm not gonna lie, I am so not a fan of Stephanie. I'm really not. Anyway, long story short, Alex Alex wants to sit there and push Stephanie and sit there writing full time, not just the PR thing or whatever, but just like full time. There's a point where they get to the Brady pub and they talk to Kate. And at first, Kate is like, listen, I can't really do the whole, publishing thing because, she was sitting there talking to Roman, and Roman's going to be pretty distracted, and she's going to have to sit there and step up to really, help out in the pub. But Alex sits there and convinces her in like under 5 minutes, and Roman comes in, she's like, I'm gonna do it. Now, one of the things that's really interesting is that Stephanie made it very clear to Alex, like, listen, nobody can sit there and know that, I'm out here writing these type of books or whatever, promise me that no one's gonna find out. But then when she gets to Kate, in Kate's like, no, Stephanie's like, listen, you gave me those great notes and great feedback and stuff like that for my book and everything. And she just lets it slips out. And then she's like, oh, I can't believe that happened. I'm like, you're so worried about making sure it doesn't come out and that Alex doesn't sit there blurt it out that you just, say like you did it right then and there during a whole damn bar. Like, um, only thing about the conversation that you really need to know as far as Rome and Kate is that he's beating himself up. He's beating himself up that he wiped the prints off the gun. He's making it look like, there's a cover up and everything like that. And he also left the gun there. He opened his mouth to, tell um Johnny about Sammy and everything. And I get that part, right? I can understand him beating himself up about that. But him taking that damn gun, nah, that was a Johnny decision. Johnny did that by himself, you know? Everyone wants to sit there and try to kick themselves and be upset about the situation and being like, oh, like Chanel was upset with everybody else. Rome sitting there kicking himself. I'm like, bro, at the end of the day, Johnny made that decision to sit there and pick up a damn gun. Johnny was the one that was sitting there telling everybody around town, oh, listen, he got exactly what he deserved. When the dude was shot, like, bro, you don't think at some point that people are going to sit there and look at you like you're not a suspect? Like, I just, it's hard for me to sit, in some ways, it's hard for me to have sympathy towards him. I'm trying to, right? But, like, at the end of the day, you did that to yourself. Right? Like, yes, you being upset, him pushing you over the edge about what he did to your mother will sit there and drive damn near anybody insane. But those are your actions. You did that. So, I get he's fighting for his life and he didn't really do it and stuff like that. I'm like, broski, you put yourself in that situation. So, you know, it's hard for me to have a certain level of sympathy towards him. And again, the way that Chanel Smith there just coming across, it makes it even more difficult, if we're gonna be honest. Um, this episode was mostly set up. I feel like I forgot some stuff, or there was some stuff I left out with the whole Kristen and Brady stuff. It was just mostly about Rachel and how they're gonna sit there and deal with it and be there for her and everything like that. Um, but yeah, this is more of a setup episode. I feel like a lot more of the stuff is gonna sit there and come probably next week, maybe because it's 4th of July and they didn't really want to do anything too big in case people didn't watch it for some odd reason. Even though it's on Peacock, you can sit there and watch whenever you want, but whatever. Anyway, if I forgot anything, let me know in the comment section below. I'm not doing a live stream tonight. It's my dad's birthday, so I'm gonna be with him. Saturday, though, for members, if you are not a member, make sure you join. I'm going to be streaming on Saturday and Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're not a member, make sure you join. With that being said, I'm going to go. I'll see you in the next video.